Hey everyone, I'm Ryan. Welcome to another episode of Thoughts on Gaming. Rolling off of the last episode and replayability, it made me think of other games that I like to go back to, but for a very different reason. Ones I can think of are, let's see, the Fallout series, pretty much any of the Fallout games, the Elder Scrolls games included in that, and let's see, Mountain Blade, Harvest Moon, Don't Starve, and the common thread in all of those games, and in a lot of games, but those are going to be the key ones that pop out in my mind, are they're games that start you off with nothing, or very, very little, that like bare bones, just enough to get you going, and the rest is up to you. You've got to scavenge your supplies, your weapons, your money, any of the skills that you need to acquire to survive. You need to hone those on your own. And I find with those games, particularly with the Elder Scrolls, Morrowind being the favorite, I think, and Skyrim too, because although I was kind of hostile to the skill system when it first came out, I grew fond of it as time went on. I love starting off with nothing. There's something about that that really appeals to me, and I'll try to explain that and try to convey why that's so appealing to me in all those games. When you start off with absolutely nothing, there's a real fire, a real hunger inside to try and conquer the world, especially in a world like, say, Skyrim, where, okay, you start off, you've basically got some really crap armor, a sword and a shield that are and you're quickly made aware of the fact that there's dragons out there. There are things in this world that if you try to take them on with what you've got, they're going to stomp you really, really fast. There is no chance. You don't have a hope in hell of trying to beat any of these things. So what are you going to do? Well, you've got to hone your skills. You've got to become a more seasoned, skilled warrior. You've got to refine your smithing abilities. You've got to create better weapons and armor. Find better weapons and armor. You've got to find trainers to help you boost your combat abilities, your magic. You've got to find spell books. You've got to find ancient artifacts. You've got to do everything you can to make yourself a credible threat. Somebody that they're not going to mess with, or if they do, you're going to be able to hold your own and beat them back. Then you take a game like, say, Harvest Moon, where I think pretty much all the games, and I've played a fair number of them. It's one of my favorite games, actually, but I can talk about that in another episode. I could talk about that for days, honestly. But you start off with a farm that is in disrepair. It's overgrown. It's not doing well. Maybe it's failing. And you've got to clear it out. You have to bring it up to code so you can just grow something as simple as corn. You've got to get animals. You have to build everything from the ground up and create a sustainable business that not only will allow you to improve the farm, but improve your own social life in later games where you could marry, have a family, help the community that you're a part of. It's, in a lot of ways, I think it's got elements in RPGs like Skyrim and in farming simulators like Harvest Moon. There's that idea, that grind. I guess, it's also applied to RPGs like Final Fantasy, where you're starting off at like level 1 and everything up to rats can kick your ass, but eventually you're going to be at a level where you can take down gods. And you have magical weapons and armor that are almost ridiculous, almost unfair. But that grind, it's got a very, what would be the word? An entrepreneurial spirit to it, of building something from the ground up. Not just for the sake of making a profit or fame, but that journey where they say, like, the journey's the worthier part. It's not so much the destination. And the common thing I find with all those games is I'll play them from start to finish, but I really enjoy the beginning part, the the grind, starting with so little, having all the odds stacked against me that, okay, if I'm going to go into that dungeon, I'm probably going to have a rough go of it. It's going to take me longer now than it will when I'm at level 50. Same thing with the farm. I'm going to have to budget my money and be very selective with how I grow my crops, the timing, when and where I sell them, how much of it I keep for myself, and what sort of animals I buy next. It's very strategic. And I find myself starting over quite a bit just because I love that challenge. There's something about it that is so appealing. I can actually remember when I first started playing Morrowind, I would start the game over, 5 or 6 times. Partly because I was playing around with different classes and making my own and seeing what I preferred in my play style, but also because I just loved starting off with so little and building myself up. And I think it's also because of, when you reach the end, and I don't just mean the end of the game, but when you've become the best you can be, you have the best armor, you have the best weapons, the best magic, you're as high as you can go in a guild. The farm is as profitable as it will ever be. Where do you go from there? You're the guy who set out to conquer the world, and after you've conquered everything, there's nothing left for you. It's kind of sad when you think of it that way, because the challenge is gone. It almost makes me wonder for games like that. Like, obviously, the point is to reach the conclusion, to win the game, to defeat the great evil, to complete your quest to save the farm. But the journey is just so fulfilling that reaching the end is almost kind of disappointing, because once you've hit that point, that's it. It's over. There's nothing left. You have hit a point of no return where everything you've set out to do has been achieved, and there's nothing else. Which, I guess if you want to go really deep on it, is a pretty apt metaphor for life itself. You are on a journey. You're going to reach the end. And once you hit that point, that's it. Well, as far as we know, right? That's a point of no return. You have a very clear end point, but it's everything in between that's going to make reaching that end point so worthwhile. And who knows, maybe we do get a chance to live it all again. Maybe life's just one big game. I don't know. Maybe that's getting a bit too deep. But anyways, those were my thoughts on gaming and on why I think replayability is so fantastic. Not just, as I mentioned in the last episode, for the nostalgia factor, but why grinding is so appealing and why we enjoy it so much in everything from RPGs to farm simulators to, I'm probably forgetting a bunch of genres that could be ascribed to as well. But you get what I'm saying. Anyways, as always, share your thoughts, guys. I want to know what you think about this. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have some other examples that you'd like to put forward, just share your comments. I'm really curious to see what you think on this in particular. Anyways, until next time, I'm Rye. This was Thoughts on Gaming. Take care of yourselves.